Chapter 4, The Distribution of Life on Earth. Currently, life on Earth has been able to adapt into unprecedented diversity, partly due to a relatively stable climate. We do not even know how many species exist on the planet, yet we are directly and indirectly causing them to go extinct, about 1,000 to 10,000 times the rate of quote-unquote natural extinction, without even gauging the level of complexity and diversity that already exists. To complicate things, species do not exist uniformly over the planet's surface, so quantifying this is a very difficult task. The Earth is thought to have occurred or formed approximately 4.5 billion years ago. We base that estimate on radioactive decay of uranium and on meteors that are dated. The Earth is thought to have formed from nebula from an old star that exploded. After it started to form and coalesce, the surface of the Earth was molten for about 200 to 500 million years. And the oldest existing rocks are about 3.8 billion years old and sedimentary, meaning they formed from erosion of old rocks. Some zircon crystals indicate liquid water existed nearly 4.3 billion years ago. But that's the oldest geological record we have. Evidence of the earliest life on the planet can be found in fossilized prokaryotic cells, like bacteria, in these sedimentary rocks that are about 3.5 billion years old. Notice the arrow pointing to the bacterial, or what looks like a bacterial cell. For the next 2 to 3 billion years, microbes ruled the planet. We know from the geological record and fossil record that the first 2 billion years of life was anaerobic until the photosynthesizing bacteria evolved. Once these so-called cyanobacteria, or blue-green algae, started producing molecular oxygen as a waste product of photosynthesis, other higher life forms came into being. Without molecular oxygen, no eukaryotic life would exist on the planet, because you cannot produce enough energy, or ATP, to support larger cellular life. In the 1950s, Miller and Urey demonstrated that complex molecules possessed by all living things are readily produced under laboratory conditions that resemble the Earth's earliest environments. These experiments and other lab work, combined with the fossil record, support the idea that life arose from natural processes. One of the most popular theories of how cells started is the subsurface origin hypothesis. The subsurface origin hypothesis states that life originated at hydrothermal springs on the ocean floor. Conditions here would have been much more stable than on the surface of the planet as it cooled. Down there, where volcanic activity was seeping through the crust, there was a steady and abundant supply of energy in the form of hydrogen gas and hydrogen sulfide that may have been available at these sites. If you go to the bottom of the ocean where there's volcanic activity, you can see the evidence of these at these hydrothermal springs. This life is based on energy trapped at the center of the Earth rather than the sun's rays currently hitting the planet. Cellular growth is thought to have begun in porous submarine minerals formed by the interaction of hot hydrothermal water mixed with the cold iron-containing water. Life at this hydrothermal vent is driven by chemical energy leaking from the Earth. Energy-rich compounds Energy-rich compounds are used by bacteria for growth. Larger organisms either eat the bacteria or develop symbiotic relationships with them. The large tube worms in this photo are 2 to 4 feet tall and are packed with bacteria that can make ATP by transforming chemicals that come out of the black smoker. The worms share the ATP in return for a safe place to live. The red in this photo is the end of the worm that filters hydrogen sulfide from the black smoker for the bacteria to use in generation of energy. Not shown in this photo are the crabs, shrimp, and other crustaceans that live off the primary production from these bacteria. So this life that we find at the bottom of the oceans is not based on primary production through photosynthesis, but rather primary production through something called chemolithotrophy, the oxidation or burning of chemicals to generate energy that don't have carbon in them. Once life originated, it diversified into different kinds of organisms through natural selection. As Darwin's first documented in 1859, biological evolution occurs from natural selection of individual variation. Nearly all populations exhibit variation among individuals. Individuals with advantageous traits will tend to have more successful offspring. Advantageous traits will therefore become widespread in populations. Put another way, evolution is the central organizing concept or theory of biology. It's how we look at things that are alive on the planet. DNA mutation within these organisms gives rise to a change in a trait. If that trait proves to be stable in the population, it is passed on through reproduction. The change in frequency of the trait in a population, or the increase in frequency of the trait in the population, is called evolution. If the result is a separate reproducing population, you get speciation. And speciation, or what is speciation, is not always agreed upon. So, in these few slides, we talked about how old the Earth is. When did life first appear, and how do we know? What did the Miller and Urey experiment demonstrate? What is the subsurface origin hypothesis? And what is the theory of evolution? In addition, why do we study evolution when we look at life on the planet? These are all things you should be able to think about and answer.